It's Friday, June 12. This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Simone Absalom. On Thursday, Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton provided an update on the COVID-19 pandemic that's currently affecting the nation.
The following is the latest update of the results of tests that have been done Thursday, June 11th, 2020. Tests done over the last 24 hours. Jamaica has recorded some 6 new cases of COVID-19 in the last 24 hours. This brings the total number of confirmed cases to 611. The new cases were all imported, 4 arriving on a flight from the United States and 2 on a flight from the United Kingdom. Their ages range from 38 to 63 years.
The minister also spoke of the recoveries from the virus.
In terms of recovery, in the last 24 hours, the island has had 1 additional recovery, putting our overall recovery numbers at 408 or 66.8%. So even though the number 1 is not a lot, the overall percentages of recovery, 68%, 66.8%, is moving us in the right direction, and we're very happy for that.
Dr. Tufton was speaking at a virtual press conference at the ministry's New Kingston offices. And the island continues its controlled re-entry of nationals impacted by COVID-19 travel restrictions. Foreign Affairs Minister Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith provided an update on Thursday.
One of the good things that's been happening this week as well is we've had flights coming from Cayman, because we've had a fair number of persons there who have really been reaching out, just very much in need of return. And we have finally been able, and I must express publicly, thanks to the government of Trinidad and Tobago for having worked with us in moving from their original position, which was to arrange repatriation flights from their students from UA and Cave Hill campuses and the Barbadian students from Mona and St. Augustine to Barbados. We have been able to discuss and arrange for Cal to be given permission to come to Jamaica and to run repatriation flights. So we have now scheduled flights to bring Jamaicans home, not just students, but all nationals who have been impacted by COVID restrictions and had flights canceled on them since we closed our borders. We have Jamaicans coming from Trinidad and Tobago on Saturday, and also on Saturday flying from Barbados. We are also working on finalizing flights from Bahamas and Antigua and Barbuda, which will round out our largest populations of Jamaicans stranded within the Caribbean.
Chief Medical Officer Dr. Jacqueline Bessessa-McKenzie says 3,289 people have returned to the island since April. 989 returned since June 1, when the borders were reopened to Jamaicans. And despite fears the number of cases could increase drastically as people come into the island, Dr. Bessessa-McKenzie says early numbers are suggesting a low infection rate among returnees.
In terms of the persons that have returned, we have had 49 persons that have been positive from the cruise ship returns, which is about 3% positive rate. And we have had 26 other persons from the other flights that have come in, which is about a 1.6% positive rate. So overall, the numbers of positive cases that we're getting from the returning residents it's not over or general overall figures. And so therefore, Minister, I would say that over the last 2 weeks, our experience in terms of our testing of the returning residents have been good. It does suggest that Jamaicans overseas have been taking the necessary precautions in terms of keeping themselves safe and preventing themselves from becoming infected. And so that harbors good. We know that when the persons return, there will be a risk of exposure because persons would have had some exposure, and we do expect that there would be some positive cases that are coming into country. But so far, based on this sampling of persons coming in, we have not had a large number of cases
Dr. Bissessa McKenzie says persons who have returned should remain vigilant, however, as they could still be in the incubation period. All tourists and Jamaicans arriving in the island after June 15 will be tested for COVID-19. Minister of Health and Wellness, Dr. Christopher Tufton, has announced this change to the initial decision that was taken by the government for tourists to only submit to voluntary testing.
We will, during this period, and it's important that we mention the period in question, we will still test persons coming in, irrespective of whether they have taken a test prior to coming, and the explanation is relatively simple. We have had cases of persons coming in who have had tests or provided information that they have had tests done, and they ended up testing positive. So it's important for our public health infrastructure to capture the information to allow for the assessment in order to manage the process going forward, even while we lift restrictions further. Remember now, it's a risk-based approach, and so there are some persons who are coming in who will not be tested, and with the Honorable Prime Minister did speak to that, the bubble countries, some specific countries, based on the assessment of those jurisdictions.
Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett earlier said some 70 flights are expected to arrive in Jamaica between June 15 and June 30, bringing about 5,000 to 6,000 visitors.
And that's important to us. It's a start, and it's a start that is going to be vital, because we need to ensure that the capacity is there to manage that kind of flow, and health and security as well as tourism are going to be central players in ensuring that management overall.
They were speaking at a virtual press conference on Thursday. The COVID-19 pandemic has forced the government to cut its budget across all sectors, and the Education Ministry is no exception. Marlon Samuels has the details.
Speaking Tuesday during the Public Administration and Appropriations Committee, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Dr. Grace McLean, outlined cuts to the ministry's budget. The Education Ministry's recurring budget once stood at $115 billion. There is a 2% reduction, amounting to $2.96 billion. The ministry's capital budget of $1.48 billion was reduced by 57%. to $633 billion. The Permanent Secretary explained.
And so we had cuts in areas relating to mileage, which of course would be what we would pay our education officers and other officers who have to physically go to schools. That has been cut by about 50%. We, however, have taken on to ourselves a different approach because of this new normal, where we can engage our principals, we can engage our teachers through the use of the technology. We use Microsoft Teams at the ministry, and we have been able to host up to meetings with close to 1,000 persons at any one time, and so it has become a little easier for us to make contact with our officers and to guide them accordingly. The technology allows us not only to speak, but also for us to see areas of the facilities and to provide guidance accordingly. We have seen a cut in foreign travel. This will not affect us significantly, as since March, many of those meetings where we are members that would have been held overseas, we were able to have them in our homes or at the office using the technology as well. There's also been cuts in conferences and workshops and training sessions, and again, the use of the technology will assist us significantly.
Despite a large cut to the Program of Advancement through Health and Education Part budget, Dr. McLean says parents will still receive support.
For PATH, I think that is the biggest reduction that we have in the allocation for PATH, but just to advise that $1.2 billion was actually removed and placed into the Ministry of Labor and Social Security budget on our request through a cabinet approval so that we could facilitate the payment of the parents for the period between March and June that our students were mainly operating from home.
For the news on PBCJ, I'm Marlon Samuels.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness says he is deeply saddened at the death of at least 2 members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, JCF, while on operation early Friday morning.
I'm deeply saddened by the murder of 2 of our law enforcement officers and the serious wounding of 2 others in the line of duty. My thoughts and prayers are with their families at this time, and our collective hearts grieve with them.
According to police spokesperson, Senior Superintendent Stephanie Lindsay, the police were on an operation at Horizon Park near Spanish Town in search of wanted men and firearms when they were attacked. She said an illegal M16 rifle and 2 empty magazines have been found at the scene. However, the attackers escaped.
I'm not going to give too much details about what happened here. For a number of reasons. We're still in pursuit of some people, and we have some leads that we're following. As I say, it's a sad day for the force, a sad day for Jamaica when this happens. But you know, that's what we face, and that's why we're police officers. So what went wrong is that we have people with high-powered weapons and rifles, criminals with them in Jamaica, shooting at people. That's what went wrong.
The police were caught off guard.
They were not caught off guard. There's no indication of that. Whenever we go into an operation, we have to take due care of how we approach things. The people we confront have no such restrictions. So even if we get intelligence on something, we have to confirm things. We have to be very careful with how we approach things. There are always the risk of innocent people being harmed in our operations. So we have to approach things in a very sensible way. And that, of course, gives some advantage to the persons who are not so restricted.
In a release, Prime Minister Holness says the killing of law enforcement officers is an immeasurable tragedy, and the authorities will not rest until the perpetrators are brought to justice.
This is a trying time for the JCF. However, I want the committed and hardworking members of the JCF to know that all well-thinking Jamaicans stand with you. Do not be deterred. Even in a time of crisis, the criminals are at work. We must redouble our efforts against the criminal element. They must face justice.
A senior manager employed to National Commercial Bank, NCB, is facing charges of fraud following allegations of major fraud at the financial institution. The manager is reportedly attached to the Centralized Operations Unit. It's alleged that more than $24 million was illegally transferred to the accounts of individuals connected to the manager. A St. Catherine pastor, Winston Campbell, has been charged with 3 counts of rape and obtaining money by false pretense. The man charged is a 56-year-old bishop of Kitson Town in St. Catherine. He was charged after 3 of his alleged victims came forward and reported incidents to the Spanish Town police station last month. The CCU alleged that between 2014 and 2018, all 3 victims, who were members of the church located in Point Hill, spoke to the pastor on separate occasions about various ailments they were experiencing. The pastor then allegedly had sexual intercourse with them. The 2 other victims were also related, also went to the pastor on separate occasions. And Gabriel Thompson now gives us an extended edition of the Business Report.
Minister of Industry, Commerce, Agriculture and Fisheries Audley Shaw has crowned agro-processing the future of Jamaican agriculture. The minister was on location at a farm facilitated on an Agro-Invest Corporation AIC Agro-Park in Spring Plains, Clarendon last Friday. He also believes idle lands across Jamaica should be put to use for farming purposes.
Agro-processing is the next major step that Jamaica has to mature into. in order to make agriculture fully be materialized in terms of its full potential for Jamaica. And when this happens, because these are models now, that need to be replicated across the country, because even when you're on my way out here from Kingston, I'm tired for look on idle land. Tired. Right? And the irony is, where we have idle lands, even on the way from Kingston, guess what we have? Idle hands. We have idle lands and idle hands. And look at this, and how this can be replicated across the country, not just in terms of pepper, but in such a wide range of other things.
The Agriculture Minister thanked manufacturing giant Grace Kennedy for assisting farmers with a market for their crops.
Of importance in thanking Grace Kennedy, that there is the take-up from a major company like Grace that is doing the vertical integration. It's not selling peppers fresh, right? It is processing the peppers now into a range of different items, including the famous Grace Kennedy pepper sauces that are served.
He says the government has plans to place emphasis on short-term crops such as peppers, Irish potatoes, and other vegetables. Minister Shaw also announced plans for the development of a state-of-the-art processing facility in Kingston.
Other companies are getting involved in agro-processing. We intend to convert the old AMC complex at Spanish Town Road into a modern agro-processing center. That's part of what the mandate of the AIC, that we're going to be turning the old AMC complex on, sits on about 10 acres of land. And that's going to be done in partnership with the private sector. This is not government running things. No. This is government facilitating the private sector to make things happen.
Also on location was farm owner Gary Colton, whose West Indian peppers were being packed for delivery to a Grace Kennedy processing facility. Mr. Colton praised the Agro-Invest Corporation and briefly spoke to the effects the coronavirus pandemic has had on farming.
We are trying our very best, given the circumstances of all the setbacks we've had, especially with the COVID-19 pandemic. It took about 2 months out of our growing cycle. So what we're doing now is trying to catch up and get cracking. And luckily for us that we have Grace Kennedy here that is, as we produce it, they send for it. And so it's a good partnership we have going here. And there's a lot of support coming from the AIC group. We try to do a lot of things on our own, but if we buck shuffle, slip, AIC is right there to catch us up and keep us moving.
For the business report on PBCJ, I'm Gabrielle Thompson. In Monday's trading session, the JSE combined index advanced by 2,352 points to close at under 400,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 73 stocks, of which 33 advanced, 32 declined, and 8 traded firm. The junior market index advanced by 15 points to close at under 3,000 units. Stocks advanced for 1834 Investments Limited, Blue Power Group, and Caribbean Producers Jamaica. Stocks declined for Access Financial Services, AMG Packaging and Paper, and Barita Investments Limited. Trading firm were Berger Paints Jamaica, Caribbean Cream Limited, and G-West Corporation Limited. Wigton Wind Farm Limited ordinary shares was the volume leader with 2.7 million units, followed by Proven Investments Limited USD with 2.4 million units and Grace Kennedy Limited with 2.2 million units. Now for the foreign exchange, the US dollar on Thursday, June 11 ended trading at $140.97. The Canadian dollar sold for an average $105.42. The pound sterling traded for $180.80, and the euro ended trading at $161.27. Oil prices edged higher on Friday but were on track for their first weekly fall in 7 days as new U.S. coronavirus cases spiked, raising the prospect of a second wave hitting demand. Brent crude futures were up 27 cents to settle at $38.82 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate crude futures gained 19 cents to $36.53 a barrel. That's it for the business report on PBCJ. I'm Gabrielle Thompson.
For the latest from the world of entertainment, we join Alicia Steele for the entertainment recap.
Hello friends, welcome to PBCJ's Entertainment Recap. I'm your host, Alicia. Let's get to it. Everything up, 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 up. Yeah, everything up. Yes, young, talented and fun new artist Fasca is out with his song and new video. Take a look.
Fasca. Made to win. Yeah. To the big test. Yeah. To the big test. Step out. Where when they see me, we not to play man roll with the villains. If you want to be me, make a know, yeah, give me. With my to the car time over limit.
The legendary Bunny Wailer is offering cash reward for the return of his wife, Jean Watt, who went missing from their home in Kingston on May 23rd. Please contact the numbers on screen if you see Jean Watt.
Pbcj Saddened Livingston here. This is a special bulletin. It's my stepmother, Sister G. Jean Watt. You don't know her mother this. She raised me and teach me a lot of things. I know she's missing, so we're looking for her. And sightings have been lately in Spanish Town. You know, we outside the Mandela Highway going into Portmore on the toll. Now it's Spanish Town, so Spanish Town we are focused on, but the whole St. Catherine's side, you know, I think I should walk from Boulevard and just walk down that way there. So right now I just want to give thanks to everybody who posted and interacting and helping us. And I want to just ask for some more help from the police, healthcare workers, you know, people who can maybe she not get to check in with her name because she disoriented when she come in. So we just want to look out for her. All ones look out for her. You know, I say my family, the whole of our family. We are look with the family, extended family. Bless.
Let me tell you something. YouTube has been around from 2005. And our local people, Jamaican people, has been dabbling in that market for quite some time. But adding to our local people, celebs, our local celebs are dabbling in it as well. Yendi Phillips and the Mitchells. I'm talking about Wayne Marshall and Tammy Chin, the Mitchells. Yes, but just look at the bits and pieces of their YouTube page.
Hey everybody, I'm Yendi and this is Odyssey with Yendi, Untold Journeys, where I speak with some of my favorite people and have some shape-shifting conversations. Here they share their stories, leaving nuggets of goodness and life lessons to motivate and inspire our own life's journeys.
This is our little story and a true thing. Two hearts come together.
So we are at the end of another entertainment recap. I'm your host, Alicia, and I just want to say thanks to the Ear Candy Collection. And remember to follow them on Instagram and Facebook at the Ear Candy Collection for my earrings. And remember to big up you.
In regional news, Guyana awaits the final declaration from the Guyana Elections Commission, GECOM. Former Caribbean Court of Justice Judge Professor Duke Pollard says the commission is bound to produce credible election results. InfoHub's Anara Khan reports.
According to the Guyana Chronicle, the former CCJ judge said that GECOM cannot make a declaration if the information lacks integrity. Quote, If the information provided for the outcome is not credible, then the outcome itself could not be credible. GECOM is required to present a credible account of this recount process. It is strange to see how GECOM can give a credible report of the recount process if it is precluded from substantiating the integrity of the information." End of quote. He noted that it would be counterproductive to do so. His remarks come as the Elections Commission awaits the summary report of Chief Elections Officer Keith Lowingfield on the recently concluded national recount. However, many of the observation reports are laden with instances of irregularities. Those irregularities include illegal voting, missing poll books and unsigned affidavits of identity, wrong lists were in ballot boxes, and the issue of unstamped discipline service ballots. Justice Pollard reiterated, GECOM has the authority to ensure that the evidence they are using as the basis for the report is credible. End of quote.
July 11 is normally celebrated by Catholics as Corpus Christi, or the body of Christ in the Eucharist. In Trinidad, the day is regarded by farmers as a great time to plant. Stacey and Providence of TTT News has that story.
A trip to the Caroni agriculture plots in Jerningham found farmers out in their numbers. For many, it was part of the daily routine, but Corpus Christi added an extra spice to the day.
Like when we farm as farmers, we have basic days that we put based on the moon and all of that. But Corpus Christi is a fixed day on your calendar where you always have to put something in the ground because it rewards you. It makes sense because it comes out good.
And what do you plant on Corpus Christi Day?
I come to check on the children. When I say children, I talk about the plants in them. I put on 9 better seeds here, right? Pumpkin. I put on some squash pumpkin. Look, I go and put on a crate of pepper, and hopefully before the week done, I go and put on like a 2 better papoy.
COVID-19 restrictions has forced many of us to become home gardeners, a trend these agriculturalists believe we should hold on to.
Every household should have a kitchen garden, and it doesn't matter where you are, whether you're in a high-rise or whatever. It's so easy to do because you just need you can take old tires, you can take an old bucket, you can make a trough. It don't matter where your pocket lie, you can create a kitchen garden. We use like the old oil containers, the oil drums, and cut them in two. And with that you have your trough where you have your side, your celery, all sort of stuff. Your buckets you will need for if you're going to put peppers or tomatoes.
This is a sign that the people of Trinidad and Tobago, they mobilize and get together and they start to seek their interests of encouraging their children to do the same thing, to plant food. Food is the backbone of a country. We can't drink oil and we cannot eat gas.
And for those who still can't see the worth of the farmers and the essential service they perform, they're asking for some extra blessings.
And I hope everybody a prosperous Corpus Christi, and for their produce and thing and whatnot. I hope the market out there, and I'm hoping and praying that people of the country see the farmers and buy local.
According to tradition, anything you plant on Corpus Christi will thrive. Stacey Ann Providence, TTT News.
In sports, we're on the tracks with athletics. The organizers of Racers Adidas Grand Prix Continental Tour Gold Meet has officially cancelled the event, which had been set for this Saturday. The cancellation is due to continued issues and uncertainties associated with the COVID-19 novel coronavirus. Meet organizer and president of the Racers Track Club, Glenn Mills, says the tough decision, which has been communicated to World Athletics, came after much deliberation. Mills says Racers Grand Prix organizers are already in talks with stakeholders for the event to be held on June 5 next year. And local testing of athletes will resume on June 15. Chairman of the Jamaica Anti-Doping Commission, JADCO, Alexander Williams, made the announcement on Thursday as JADCO officially opened its new headquarters at 1 Ballater Avenue in St. Andrew. JADCO had announced in April that due to the COVID-19 pandemic, testing of athletes would be suspended indefinitely. However, Williams says things are now in place to resume testing. And that's the news on PBCJ. I'm Simone Absalom. Have a wonderful weekend.